Good day, my name is Frank Steffen and I welcome you to this week's edition of Tourismus Namibia. As always, we have topics, we've got destinations, and then obviously under to the point, we've got an interesting item for you again. But first up, it's topics where we start with the CBNRM project, which is really our conservancy project. Here you've got a map where you can see we've got something like 68 conservancies in Namibia, so it's quite an interesting item that I've got for that one. And the next one then is we'll be looking a bit at hyenas. There were a couple of brown hyenas in the down at Lidritz that were collared, and so quite an interesting item there. Then a very funny photo of a seal. As you can see, it has apparently been bitten by a white shark. And then next up, we've got a little piece about Marlice van Vuuren. Marlice, you will know, is part of Harnas, so we'll just have a look at her. That's her on the left-hand side there. And then finally, we've got a quick look at something that EHRA does. EHRA obviously being the Elephant-Human Relation Aid. So we'll talk a bit about that. And then under destinations, we this week visit the Grootfontein Museum. As you can see, Elvira Hatting was there and had an interesting interview and introduces us a bit. Quite a nice little stopover, if you want to call it that. And then up next, we've got Etotongwe Lodge, which is up at Outjo. There we have a quick look at, once again, a very nice hotel. I've stayed there before, and I actually like the place very much. It's a bit homely, even though you don't see people on that photo now. And then obviously, under To the Point, this week we will have a look at the ocean. You will remember that the other day we had the International Day for the Oceans, and so this week we'll be looking a bit into the Oceans Conference that was held in Lisbon in Portugal. So that's our quite a lot that we want to go through today. First up is obviously then topics. Yeah, as I said, topics, and first up we've got the CBNRM. Now, it is not something that I particularly like doing, but sometimes one has to look realities in the face, and if there's criticism, you've got to adapt to current circumstances. So this week I could not help wondering whether Namibia is truly on the right track as regards our CBNRM programme. A scientific study that has been largely ignored during COVID-19 has attempted to objectively assess what we call community-based natural resources management program, obviously the CBNRM program. And it is a nature conservation program, obviously. It's our concept that is overseen by the umbrella organization NACSO, NACSO, under the Namibian Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. So Professor Stasia Koort, Paul Hebbing, and Sean Sullivan, they published their report in the magazine Society and Natural Resources. And it seems to have been, they seem to have identified a flaw in the Namibian concept in that scientific statements about the success of the CBNRM are not always underscored by independent research. Instead, there on the one side seems to be an interdependency between the affected communities, who obviously depend financially on the conservancy which they manage, while also acting as custodians of the wildlife that is found in that conservation. And on the other hand, the scientists and data processors from different stakeholder groups as well as politicians. Now, the three professors in a very detailed study seem to find that all of these parties have an inherent need and interest to report successes in order to retain their relevancy, rather than ever admitting to shortcomings. And this has obviously been pretty much what Isaac Smith of Delra has always been saying for a while now at least, and it seems to strike a nerve now that one reads that sort of report, because we consider our dwindling numbers of game, especially here in the northwestern area where most of our conservancies for Namibia are found. And then also remembering that whole human conflict with livestock against wildlife, where desert adapted lions suddenly find themselves between a rock and a hard place, I would say, and where if they go and take some of the domestic animals, invariably they're being hunted down. On the other hand, the game that was technically their food has been hunted away as well. So where do they find themselves? Basically under threat. So this study has taken a long, deep look at that, and it seems to me that we might just have to go back to the drawing board, and we don't necessarily have to change the whole concept, but if we know that there's an issue because the same person manages the conservancy as decides what is being hunted, plus has the access to that same ground with his flock and whatever he has, sheep, goats, cattle, then there clearly must be a conflict of interest. And the sad part is that many of the groups that are up there, even though environmentalists and conservationists and whatever, they often find that they have to toe the line, otherwise nobody wants to have them there anymore. So there's a real striking story here. Right, and then up next we've got hyenas. It was quite an interesting thing because Geneva is what this young male brown hyena is called, was last week collared by, got a GPS collar from Dr. Ulf Tubezing and Mariska Westerbosch from Wildlife Vets Namibia. Samples were obviously also taken. You can see there they inspected the jaws and teeth. So this happened in Baker's Bay, about 120 kilometers south of Lüderitz, and this was obviously made possible by conservationist and filmmaker Ivan Carter and cinematographer and photographer Sean Fillion, who were accompanied by cinematographer Keenan Ferguson. So the team documented the action, and the video is scheduled to air on Earth X later this year. So, and Marie Lemmerle of the Brown Hyena Research Project brought the team to the hyenas and explained that Ivan and Sean started the conservation film company, and they now make films and tell stories about people who are committed to conservation. So quite a nice little story there. You will remember that Ms. Lemmerle had also brought us those pictures the other day that we showed you where brown hyena was rushing along the streets in Lüderitz. It's quite an interesting part. Now this same Marie Lemmerle of this brown hyena research project also photographed a seal, and this is obviously the photo you saw earlier. It has apparently been bitten by a great white shark, also in Baker's Bay, about 120 k's south of Lüderitz. And this is the most recent evidence that the Namibian coast is visited by big white sharks seems to be this photo, because the shark's habitat stretches from the Namibian coastline to KwaZulu-Natal and even as far as Mozambique. So Lüderitz Marine Research on their Facebook page wrote, "We have several pieces of evidence that great white sharks are visiting our waters. They were observed in Grootfontein and in the lagoon. Indirect evidence consists of encounters with divers in Hottentots Bay and Wolf Bay, and fresh shark teeth found in diamond gravel pumped near Grootfontein from the seabed." So there's also evidence of predation on seals at Atlas Bay and on cow sharks in the Lüderitz lagoon. So speaking of the wounded seal, Lemmerle reckoned only a great white shark can inflict such an injury on a seal. If we look at the size and the shape of the injury, we estimate that it is a large shark with a minimum of 3 to 6 meters in length. And I mean, you can see there, it must be hurting. She reckoned the only thing that they can do is leave it alone, and hopefully it will survive, because the wound didn't seem as though it was still bleeding, and it wasn't infected, it seems, clearly because of salt seawater. But quite an interesting item there. Right, and then we're looking at Marlice van Vuuren. Marlice van Vuuren is the wife of Dr. Rudy van Vuuren, who was previously on the show, if you remember. He was here as a guest talking about the Ngqangquse hyena project, as well as the emaciated desert adapted lion that was saved in the northwest of Namibia, you will remember. She's the daughter of Marietta and the previously deceased Nick van der Merwe. Her mom started with the Harnas Sanctuary for Lions, another game in need. You will remember we spoke about Harnas a couple of times earlier in the year and at the close of last year. So sometimes sticking to the background, it was quite nice for me to see that my zone, that's our younger generation team here at Namibia Media Holdings, they acknowledged founder and owner of the Ngqangquse collection, Marlice van Vuuren, who knows no other life than that of wildlife. With her tremendous dedication, Marlice has created safe havens for animals with the help of her husband, Rudy van Vuuren. And you will remember they're also busy with Epukiro, that clinic that we introduced to you, and so on. So growing up, her life was anything but mundane and normal, so much so that her life story and work has garnered international attention, from a 2008 documentary based on her life called A Vision for Africa, to partnering with A-list celebrity Angelina Jolie to establish the Shiloh Wildlife Sanctuary, which is obviously part of Ngqangquse. She is more than just a small town girl who grew up on the first wildlife sanctuary established in Namibia by her parents. As I said, the Harnas Wildlife Sanctuary, but now also obviously Harnas based near, Harnas is based near Gobabis, and was first established as a livestock farm that later became what they call a place where animals are given a second chance. And you will remember I had that video earlier in the year where I told you all those cheetahs and all types of animals on there, invariably animals that have been maltreated or found to be not wanted on any other farm, about to be shot dead or discarded of. And so this is where they really have a second chance. And I've brought you a small video just to show you what Harnas is all about.
Harnas Wildlife Foundation, a unique place, building on the legacy of the Van der Merwe family and providing a safe haven for animals and the preservation of the ancient Sun culture. Harnas Wildlife Foundation is a rehabilitation center focusing on the rescue of animals. It all began in 1977 when the Van der Merwe family pioneered the conservation of wildlife in Namibia. The story begins with Marita van der Merwe rescuing a vervet monkey. Marita's love for animals grew, as well as her sense of responsibility toward animal welfare. Harnas officially opened its doors to the public in 1993, allowing the world to become a part of an incredible wildlife adventure. Today, Harnas consists of a team of dedicated and passionate staff, working together to fight for animal welfare and providing a second chance to animals that would otherwise have lost their lives. Volunteering and ecotourism serve as a crucial part of financing Harnas's vital projects. The staff go above and beyond to make sure that all visitors have so much more than a wildly unique experience. They make memories that will last a lifetime. The rehabilitation area spans over 10,000 hectares with minimal human interference to ensure the environment remains as natural as possible. In total, only 2,000 hectares are utilized by the farm area and the enclosures. The remaining 8,000 hectares consist of a fenced area called the Lifeline. The Lifeline serves as a release site, allowing wildlife to roam and hunt freely. It is the so-called final rehabilitation step, leading to potential full release. With the support of Namibia's marginalized Sun people, also lying at the forefront of Harnas's ethos, a vibrant kindergarten called the Cheeky Cheetah School accommodates children aged 3 to 6. Here they play and learn. a crucial stepping stone in being academically groomed for primary school. Harnas Wildlife Foundation, a place of unique experiences, a place of hope. Expect the unexpected.
Right, and that was the Harnas video, just a little introduction on that side. And then finally on the topics today, I thought this was quite hilarious. EHRA, Elephant-Human Relation Aid. You will remember we've spoken about them a lot as well. I actually spoke about them last week, but this one was an interesting poster that they released where they say Elephant Conservation Organization, EHRA, is calling on the public to donate their old or even new, hint, hint, bikes to their new program with bicycles as a mode of transport. It becomes much easier for elephant keepers to obviously respond to emergency with minimal delay. So the elephant guards have been specifically or specially trained to take the lead in tackling human-elephant conflicts on communal land. And according to EHRA, they are now trained to become local elephant experts, elephant emergency workers, and elephant educators. Yes, and so if you've got an old bike that has been around in your garage for some time and you suddenly realize, but I'll never touch it again, maybe it's high time to consider giving it on, passing it on to EHRA. They've got good use for that. So anyway, those were our topics this week. Up next, destinations. Right, so this week, first up, we've got Grootfontein Museum, and it's Elvira Hatting who provided me with some material on that. She stays up there and busy for Namibia Media Holdings, obviously. And so what makes Grootfontein Museum so special, you would say? She's spoken to Mr. Marcus Prickett on the museum, which is situated in the 122-year-old fort, which you see there. The fort is known as Alte Fort, obviously being a German description of it. And what is interesting about it is Marcus Prickett also told her about geocaching treasure hunt. Geocaching, Geocaching, geocaching. It's according to www.geocaching.com website. Geocaching is a real-world outdoor treasure hunt using a GPS-enabled device, for example, a smartphone. Participants navigate to a specific set of coordinates and then attempt to find a geocache, or a container for that matter, hidden in that location. Yeah, and it seems we forgot to show you where we're actually taking you. Grootfontein, if we look at the map, the first map here, you can see the yellow line is the main road leading from Combat, or actually from Otavi, right up towards Rundu in the north. And then towards the end of the town, or the upper part of town, I would say, on the left-hand side, you would go to Dr. Nikki Yambo Street and find the Alte Fort there. Now, if we look at the next map, there you've got a better indication of where it is. Like I said, it's Dr. Nikki Yambo Street. Just ask for the fort. You can see there on the left-hand side is the school. So if you're at the school, then it shouldn't be a problem for actually finding the museum. But by the way, you entered from the bottom side rather than the top side. Depends on whether you want to park inside the yard or not. But just ask around for the museum. Everybody knows it in Grootfontein. Right, that was the Grootfontein Museum brought by Elvira Hatting, and she's provided us with a video.
Good morning, Elvira. I'm Marcus Prickett. I'm a farmer in the area, and I've been in associated with the museum for approximately the last 20 years. The family Bauer from the vicinity operated the museum for quite a number of years, and when they retired they moved to Windhoek, and so we were forced to take over and run the museum, and so we are trying hard to keep it going.
Okay. And Mr. Prickett, Grootfontein Museum is quite historic. What makes it so significant?
I think it's the uniqueness of the building, which is an old fort. The fort was built between 1896 and 1900 by the German Schutztruppe, and after that it served as a magistrate's office and a hostel and I think it's also the variety of exhibits which also makes it unique. It's from ethnic exhibits to farming utensils, and one of our highlights is the smithy from the old Deckard family, which was housed in or run in Grootfontein up to 1978 in the center of Grootfontein. And that whole exhibit makes it very interesting. And I think the variety of exhibits.
Yes, I have to agree with you. There's quite a significant collection at this museum. So if people are interested in coming to visit Grootfontein Museum, maybe when they're on the way to the north, what do they have to do?
Unfortunately, Corona has put us a bit on ice. The lady that worked here has retired. She's in the old age home. At the moment, we are trying hard to get somebody to run the office here and keep the museum open. But as I say, unfortunately, the COVID story has put us back. We hardly had any income during the last 2 years or even more. The other problem is that the maintenance of the building, which is very old, is very high. So we are battling somewhat to get hold of finances and keep the building in good order. But at the moment, yes, we are open for, or at least we can be reached by telephone, and we are more than happy to come in and open up, especially for tourist groups. There is a telephone number at the gate which is connected to my home telephone. There are 2 other people in town which are more readily available at shorter notice. Of course, it's difficult to open for 1 or 2 people, but we are quite happy to do it if time allows. And we hope sincerely that we are getting somebody to man the office and keep the office open every day, all day. There are things in the pipeline, and well, we see in the near future if we can manage.
I thank you, Mr. Marcus, and we hope for the best for this museum, as I think it's quite something to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Elvira, for your input.
Right, that was Elvira chatting to Mr. Marcus Prickett. He's one of the local farmers and quite active in town. So up next, we've got the Etotongwe Lodge. Etotongwe Lodge is found in Outjo as you actually leave Outjo again. So if you would drive towards Etosha, and you would come in from the right-hand side into Outjo, and as you would almost leave town again, going up towards, out of town towards Etosha, Okakue, and those areas, you've got Etotongwe. I was hoping that it would come out more nicely on this photo, but it didn't. But here you can see it. You can't really miss it because it's right next to the road, just as you leave town on the left-hand side. Very nice place to go to. I've stayed there before, and I just love the place. Popular Lodge offers affordable accommodation, camping and conference facilities for all, including independent travelers in the Etosha region of Namibia. It's your typical Namibian hospitality, bed and breakfast and accommodation as such, and then obviously a nice little restaurant with a nice bar as well. Tourists on vacation that plan to use Outjo as a base when exploring places like the Etosha National Wildlife Park, Oakveld and Damra Land. All these areas in the north of Namibia prefer Etotongwe Lodge quite often to stay over for the night. It can be found, as I said, next to the C38 northwest towards Okakwew, or for that matter, you would go on to Korigas and Kamanyap. So it's only 94 kilometers southwest of the Etosha National Park, so that's not far to go then. And they've got 45 ensuite bedrooms, and you can camp there too. They've got 4 sites for 4 people each, and then you can also cater for larger groups, these typical overlanders and so on. I think there's one site for 10 and one for 24, 26 if I'm right. So quite a nice little place to stay over, but have a look at the video.
Good day viewers, my name is Ronel and I'm going to take you on a tour at Etotongwe Lodge. Etotongwe Lodge was founded on the 22nd of August in 2007, and we are situated on the right hand side from Kamanyap and on the left side heading to Kamanyap. Etotongwe Lodge consists of 46 rooms which include self-catering units, campsites and conferencing. Guests can expect to dine at our restaurant, our bar area or under our shaded lawn area. We offer game drives in the Etosha National Park, game camp on site, crocodile viewing and beauty salon. In case you want to book with us, please visit our website, booking.com, Facebook, or call us direct on 067 313 333. Stay tuned as I show you around. This is our eating area where we serve breakfast, lunch and dinner, a la carte or buffet option for larger groups. Join us on our shaded lawn viewing our game camp on site. Our swimming pool on site, strictly for overnight guests, with a depth of plus minus 2 meters. You can always get yourself a drink from our bar and come and sit and relax. Are you traveling with your family? If yes, then this is the perfect family unit we can offer, which can accommodate 4 people. One of our rooms which accommodates 2 people, it has an aircon, a television set and ensuite shower with hot water. Are you a corporate and looking for an overnight stay? Welcome to our air-conditioned standard rooms with an ensuite shower. One of our units that can accommodate 3 people. Are you looking for a venue to host your meeting or workshop? Look no further than Etotongwe Lodge. We can accommodate plus minus 60 people at our conference venue. Our bar, we offer a variety of drinks. Is it alcoholic or non-alcoholic? With very happy bar ladies.
Right, and those were our destinations for this week. Etotongwe Lodge, the last one, and like I said, I stayed there myself. Was very, very nice to stay there. I love the place. And up next, however, we've got To the Point. Right, welcome back. And like I said, To the Point, interesting in this week, we want to talk a bit about the ocean. Namibia's got a vast ocean line, and the coast stretches right from Oranjemund right up to the Iona Park up in Kaokeveld. Obviously the Namib Desert all along. And so this week you had the World Ocean Conference, and it was held in Lisbon, Portugal, and I've brought along a little speech that the UN Under-Secretary General Liu Zhenhui had for the world at large, if you really want it.
Because of human activity, our ocean is in grave danger. Plastic and other marine pollution are threatening the health of our ocean. As a result, many ocean species are at the brink of extinction. We can and must do more to protect our ocean and restore its health. The UN Ocean Conference, to be convened in Lisbon in June, is a historic opportunity to turn the tide, to scale up ocean action, harness the potential of the scientific community, introduce new innovative solutions, forge partnerships, and make new commitments. Now is the time to act. We need all hands on deck to navigate on our way towards a healthy ocean, to save the ocean for current and future generations.
Yeah, as you could see there, it was clearly a message that he brought out before the actual conference. But I just felt it was quite important to underscore the fact that clearly the international effort is there to make a plan now. And you will remember that recently on the World Ocean Day, I also brought you a video where they showed you how they plan on ridding the oceans of all that massive plastic waste that's floating all around the world. Now, it was interesting that during this time now, I stumbled across a site that calls themselves the Sea Cleaners. And it shows you that there's not only one approach. There are many people who really want to get stuck into this because they reckon it's important. And the interesting part about the sea cleaners was on their site, you can read up 17 tons of plastic waste are dumped into the oceans every minute. People, this is unreal. 17 tons every minute. 80% of the waste in our oceans is plastic. So it's a permanent problem. And 3,800 marine species are already impacted. 3,800 species. So that's huge. And so they've got a little video which is quite informative as well. Have a look.
Ça sort de l'entendement. Simplement la phrase « si on nettoyait les océans ».
Choquée quand j'ai vu certaines images.
Pour moi, c'est devenu incontournable, une remise en question.
Les industriels s'intéressent sérieusement au problème.
Premier geste écolo.
La protection des vers commence à terre.
On est les premiers à vivre vraiment les conséquences.
C'est nous qui avons foutu ce bordel.
C'est maintenant qu'il faut le faire pour dans 10 ans.
Plus on sera nombreux, au plus on ira loin, quoi.
The sailboat that recycles collected plastic trash from seas.
As a world-renowned sailor, Yvan Bourdignon.
L'espoir d'une planète plus propre.
Yeah, I think the basic message is what can we all contribute? Quite simply, make sure that your waste doesn't even reach the ocean. It was quite telling earlier in the year when we were looking at the Swakop River for the first time breaking through into the sea at Swakopmund. And everybody was obviously delighted because of the good rains and we saw all this water going into the sea. But what struck me then already was the amount of waste that was carried by the river into the ocean. So this is not a problem of just the others, it's our problem. Everybody has to contribute, and it starts simply at home where you make sure that you discard of your rubbish in the right way. Make sure that you don't chuck anything out of your cars. You still see it a lot in Namibia. People simply chucking a piece of plastic out of their window. It's somebody else's problem. But that's where it starts. It finally ends in the river. Once it's in the river, it ends in the ocean, and it suddenly becomes somebody else's problem who needs to clean after us, and that's not quite fair, I think. So anyway, that was our show this weekend. I hope you had a lot of fun with it. I certainly had, because it still struck me that, you know, when you do this show, that how many guys are actually doing something right, adding value and improving matters. So that's the upside. Obviously, there are downsides, and we talk about them on this program as well. But I still found this week it was quite nice to compile the show, because I suddenly felt, hey, this is good stuff happening around us. And I hope you feel the same way when you've finished watching this show. So I will remain until next week, same time, same place. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy the week coming up, and see you next week, same time, as I said. Until then, remain healthy.